All right, Justin, tell us about what we're about to listen to.
All right, let's see if I can get it right. Tetsuo and Youth.
Yeah, there we go. Why don't you give yourself a round of applause?
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I'll give myself a boo. No, but so it's an album by Lupe Fiasco.
Mhm.
And so we're going to break down what albums have like big band symphonies like within them that are presenting an atmosphere, helping you feel what the concept of the album is, setting the mood and the tone for the whole thing. Or if it's at the end,
Putting a nice bow on it.
putting a nice bow on it.
Yep, that's true.
So in Tetsuo and Youth by Lupe, he starts with like this beautiful like symphony of just help me out here, Jack.
Yeah,
like,
it's
I mean
a string or orchestration,
gosh.
beautiful opening, major type harmony, and the piece is named Summer, right?
Yep.
At the beginning of the album. And it kind of sets up the next like 4 to 5 songs, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And the interesting thing about this album is that it has all the 4 seasons, but then, and like each of those, basically in each of the seasons, you have a symphonic piece that sets up the next
And then so
approximate songs.
it sets up the feeling of all of those songs.
In this case.
And so like it will have the summer hits in summer. And then fall, it has this wonderful Prisoner 1 and 2 song that it's one of my favorites. It creates this like big tension and release.
Yeah.
Big just like
Well, and that's-
thought-provoking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way to keep an audience engaged too, because like the tension and release thing is the most fundamental aspect behind music. Regardless of whether you understand harmony or not, like music theory and whatnot, which is, but it's useful. However, it's about the tension and release, and any way that you can explain that or any notes that you can use to create this idea of tension and release is really what music does. Whether you know that theoretically or not.
Right. And then that's what Lupe's doing in fall and then winter. The winter is just very dark. He has delivery, right? It's deliver. It's the pizza man don't deliver here anymore because we're in the ghetto. They don't want to be out with pizza, out with money because they're going to get robbed.
Yeah.
And then so that's the winter. And then it goes all the way around into the spring symphony that kind of creates this growth, and it just ends with this beautiful, like after winter, like after all of that. And then you're like out, and it's like this freedom to live at the end.
Yeah. And to explore new areas. And then it's also kind of interesting too, because like, I feel like the seasons can kind of represent a part in maybe Lupe's life. A
whole lot.
And that's why, like, maybe wintry season is not as, hasn't been historically good for him. So that's why it ended up being the way that it did. And I think it was an interesting choice to end with the spring, the piece called Spring, excuse me, that, like you were saying, leads to this idea that like there's growth, or it's also like the idea that there's new things, because in spring we often see obviously growth of plants and new life, and so it's kind of like a send-off, really.
Right. And then another super sweet thing about this album, Tetsuo is a Japanese word for Iron Man, and it's this really super psychotic movie in Japan that's one of the most effed up anime or what Acura movies ever. It's like it's just absolutely insane. So he names the album after that, and then he has this symphony within it, so it's like a battle within himself, and he's like diving deep into all of these different things and everything that's part of his life, and then it ends with this just release.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and we've definitely covered that. It's interesting how he chose Tetsuo and Youth. There's a lot to
just
ponder
unpack
in terms of meanings. Yeah. Anyways, moving forward.
Yeah. We have Macklemore on the album The Heist. Well, it's not Macklemore like playing the instruments or anything. He's not rapping during it. It's a full-on symphony called Bomb Bomb featuring The Teaching, and the piano in it is just extraordinary the whole entire time. And then it has like fireworks shooting off in the middle of it, and it has this just crazy trumpets, crazy every instrument you could ever think of, honestly. Like,
in
it's
terms
so
of a symphony
cool.
band,
So cool.
And you were kind of saying that this is the song that made the entire album, and why you also kind of think that it won the Grammy.
Yeah, he stole it away from Good Kid, Mad City. I still haven't forgiven him about that.
Yeah, I don't think he's forgiven himself for that, man.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't.
No, man.
But anyways, it's right in about the fourth or fifth song of the album. And so it kind of captures what this whole entire album feels like. So when I'm listening back to this song, it kind of puts me back right into the place and right into the feeling that I was when I was first listening to the whole album. And it's just pretty cool, which leads me right into my favorite, The Roots, off of the Undone album. They have this great 4-part movement at the end of the whole entire album to like capture the whole entire concept in a little bow with a cherry on top. And they capture, the third one is super tension filled. So the first one is a beautiful piano piece. The second one, they bring in strings. It's more of a big band. The third one, they just completely are just putting you in tension, and it's kind of difficult to listen to at parts. I mean, that some songs are like that.
Oh yeah,
and
tension can be. The purpose of tension is definitely for it to be hard to listen to, because it makes the release feel so much better. You know.
And then that's where you get the fourth movement, and it's just so beautiful.
Yeah,
it's just so beautiful.
This is definitely the one of the three that we've talked about that is the bow on top kind of album.
Right.
Or at least with symphony pieces at the end of the album.
Right. Lupe was like setting up the environment. The heist was like, all right, let's capture it. And then this one is just a beautiful bow on top. Literally, when I listen to this, I get transported back to when I first listened to it.
And that's a special feeling, man.
It's really fun.
Any piece of music that can do that for you, whether modern or old or crappy in my opinion and crappy in other people's opinion, if it does that for you, that's an amazing thing, you know. There's not many songs that I can say actually do that for me, you know. But we've talked a lot about songs that we adore. How about we get into some 4 that we adore to continue that?
Perfect.